Hey everybody, my name's Hayden. I'm a student at John F. Kennedy University pursuing my master's degree in sports psychology. So, for those of you who are going to be watching the uploaded video, I'm here today with a group of athletes. They're high school basketball players. The coach contacted me and asked me to do a short presentation on positive self talk and confidence. Last year, the season was a little bit rough. It seemed like the team entered a slump after a lot of negative energy and lack of confidence. So, I'm going to try and provide the team with some options to keep this season fun. Today, we're going to talk about self confidence, what that means to you guys. We're going to explore some self talk and how to keep self talk positive. Within that, I also want to introduce stoppage and imagery to you, which are skills you can use with positive self-talk to build confidence. So hopefully that all sounds good. Before we get started, I want you to take a look at your handout, and in that first section, I'm going to read the category, and I want you to put a number 1 through 5 and rank your confidence in that area. So 1 is going to be you're not confident at all, and 5 is going to mean that you are the most confident and could not be any more confident in that area. So, ball handling,
3,
boxing out,
2,
rebounding,
3,
free throws,
5,
defense,
5,
jump shots,
4,
3-point shots,
4,
layups,
5,
team communication on the court,
4,
and team communication off the court.
3.
Okay, so there was a nice spectrum in there, and now that we have some numbers written down, what does confidence mean to you?
So, confidence means to me like you feel positive about your skills or about like a certain situation.
Okay, alright, yeah, that's a great definition. So, confidence is basically believing in yourself. Can you think of some basketball players that present themselves confidently?
Steph Curry,
Okay, anybody else?
Michael Jordan.
Alright, perfect. So, both of these players hold themselves in a certain way. They keep their shoulders back, their head up. You can physically see characteristics of confidence when they step onto the court. They're focused, they're ready to play their game, they're not going to be distracted by fans or their opponents. They're going to be focused mostly on what their strategy is with their team that day. And not only are they focused, but they feel good about themselves. Like if a reporter wanted to interview either of these players and ask them how they're feeling, like the response that the reporter is going to get is like, I feel good about myself, I'm confident in myself and my team, I'm ready to play, I know we can get the job done. Something along those lines. So, star athletes utilize optimism as an asset. They go into the games expecting to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So, I want to go over some of the misconceptions that people have with confidence. The first misconception is you either have it or you don't. So, athletes who have a lot of confidence have trained themselves to think a certain way. They can store successful performances and let go of unsuccessful performances. So when an athlete fails to let go of these bad performances, they're actually hindering their confidence and their chances at having success in the future. In order to gain confidence, you want to highlight when you're performing well. The next misconception is that only positive feedback can build confidence. That's not true. So while having positive feedback from parents and coaches and other teammates is going to be awesome for building confidence, athletes can also take criticism or negative feedback and use that to create confidence in themselves. So, ladies, if you happen to receive some negativity, try to remember that these phrases and comments can actually be used to make you a better player. it's on you as an athlete to change your perspective and use these words as an asset for building skills and confidence. Um, Along the same lines, another misconception is that success always builds confidence. Our confidence after success always exists. So, a lot of times, the assumption that because you performed well under these circumstances, you're going to perform well under the next circumstances, or because you weren't successful last year, you're not going to be successful this year. So, that's not true. And for you guys, just because whatever you guys had happening last year, that doesn't determine your success for this year. So, all of you guys have played on various teams, and your performances have likely varied with each team, even though the sport of basketball hasn't changed at all. The last misconception that I want to speak to is that confidence is equivalent to arrogance. So, you mentioned Steph Curry as an example of someone who's confident. Well, nobody considers him arrogant. Like, the sports world definitely sees Steph Curry as like a humble but confident player. So don't be afraid to wear your confidence. You can be confident in yourself without seeming arrogant. The next point I want to go to is optimism. So positivity and optimism are going to be essential tools not only in basketball, but as you continue your journey through life. But for today, we'll focus on how optimism is going to be good for you in regards to basketball. So, if your guys' team loses, you have to take the loss as an opportunity to grow. That's going to be an optimistic point of view. And if your team wins, you want to give yourself credit for pulling off a win. Again, being optimistic. This kind of perspective promotes confidence. And I want you guys to be confident in yourself and your team. So I'm sure you guys have heard the saying, confidence is key, tons of times, but it's true. So how are we going to build your confidence today? Well, a key factor in confidence is positive self-talk. So self-talk is the dialogue that you're having with yourself every day. You've probably found yourself asking, where did I put that? Or I need to remember to do this. And sometimes this dialogue can turn into a negative thing where you're like, man, I really suck, or I did terrible. But hopefully, most of the time, you're saying positive things like, I did really well in this area, or I improved here. If you catch yourself saying negative phrases, there is this skill called stoppage, which I want you guys to learn today. Stoppage is a great in the moment tool. You don't have to have a lot of time to utilize it. So if you're in the game or during practice and something happens and you're finding yourself like, man, I really messed up, or having some other negative thoughts, I want you to stop and change that thought into something positive, like, I got it next time, or something along those lines. A lot of times an athlete is going to be their own biggest critic, so you probably have missed an open layup at least once in your career, and you didn't need like a parent or a coach or anybody else to let you know that you messed up. You're probably more upset than yourself than anybody else was anyways. So in a situation like this, you as an individual have to be able to give yourself some positive feedback. That being said, I'm going to give you a couple minutes, and on the handout that I provided you with, I want you to write down 3 words about yourself that make you feel confident. So if you have any questions, please let me know, or if you need help, just let me know. I'm going to start the timer, and I'll let you know when your 2 minutes is up. Are you doing okay? Coming up with some good words? Sweet. You're at a minute and a half, so you have some time. See, you got 1 word. That's awesome. come up with a third word early, let me know. No pressure. Alright, 30 more seconds, so you can wrap up any final words that you guys are coming up with over there. Has everybody got their words written down? Looks like it. Cool. So I'm going to stop the timer. What words did you come up with?
So I came up with hardworking, invincible, and enthusiastic.
Okay, so if anybody didn't hear, that was hardworking, invincible, and enthusiastic. Awesome. So, as an example of how we can use one of these words in a realistic situation, let's say that you're on defense. If your girl gets past you and scores, like, what are your first thoughts? Probably not anything positive, right? So, unfortunately, the game doesn't stop. So you don't have time to be upset with yourself. Your team needs you to recover quickly and get down the floor. Your team's going to need you to perform well on offense now. So, too many times I've seen players miss opportunities because they failed to just turn the page and move on to the next play. So, when you're starting to have negative thoughts, I want you to use that stoppage technique that we just went over and change that negativity into something positive, like you said, hardworking. So for you, maybe get back down the court. You're a hardworking player. You got it next time. Positive self-talk is going to be something that you can use to stay focused and move forward with your game or even in practice. That's just one example, but do you have any questions on stoppage or how it can work to build like to become a positive self-talk thing in relation to confidence?
Yeah, I have a question. Sometimes when I'm at the free throw line, I like miss my first shot and I psych myself out and I miss the next one. So how can I like avoid this?
Okay, so again, just to reiterate, she said sometimes when she's at the free throw line, she misses her first shot, and sometimes she'll psych herself out, and then she misses the next one too, and she wants to know how to avoid this. It's a really great question. Um, at the free throw line, you actually have more time to collect yourself. So you actually have the opportunity to utilize other strategies to recover if you're missing that first shot. If you really want to use stoppage, finding a keyword that reminds you that you are a great free throw shooter could be something like swish. So, as you approach the line to shoot your free throw, instead of thinking, man, I really hope I make this, or I can't miss this shot, or something along those lines, you're just going to tell yourself, swish. And you're going to have that word be associated with, I'm going to make this. And so, as you approach the line, you're just going to say, swish. And then you're going to follow through with your routine and your shot, and not give yourself any time to get distracted. But like I said, you do have more time at the free throw line, so this is actually a great time for me to introduce imagery. So imagery is a little bit more of a difficult technique to get down. It does take some practice, but once it's learned, like it's a very useful tool for athletes. Being able to imagine or like see the experience before it takes place increases your chances of having the experience you want to become reality. So if you're familiar with imagery at all, you guys know that creating a vivid and controllable image is the goal. Using imagery increases confidence because the athlete's already seen what they want to happen. So in your situation, as you approach the free throw line, instead of saying swish or what other techniques you might have been using, you would just want to take the time to imagine the ball leaving your hand, seeing the backspin of the ball, and seeing the ball go through the net. So I actually want to take a second and practice imagery really quick with you guys. So you can get comfortable in your seat. If you feel comfortable with this, I actually want you guys to close your eyes. But if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's totally fine. But if everybody's comfortable, go ahead and take a deep breath and relax. Now imagine yourself in your home gym. Think about a time when you made a free throw. So imagine yourself approaching the free throw line now. Feel the ball as you execute your routine, and bend your knees and follow through. See the ball leave your hand and go through the net. Hear the sound of the net as you swish your free throw. So if you still have your eyes closed, go ahead and open them. Did everybody feel okay with that? That's just like a small introduction to imagery. And as you get more comfortable using imagery, you can imagine yourself being successful in more complex situations. So for a guard, for instance, maybe that looks like practicing ball handling skill that you haven't nailed yet. Or as a post, maybe that looks like getting down your left-handed post move and that becoming more natural. Imagery and visualization skills are super essential for athletes because you can use them in so many different situations. Does anybody have any questions about imagery and how it relates to confidence? No? Alright, cool. So on a final note, I want you guys to kind of create a psychology of excellence. So what does this look like for you as a basketball player? It means like, I want you guys to go for your dreams. I want you ladies to be pumped up about giving 100% every single time. Focusing on your successes. Like I mentioned earlier, give yourself credit and build on successful performances. You want to really emphasize these performances when you reflect on the past. And moving on to like the next point, be your own best friend. Like, be your biggest advocate. You really want to build your own self up and be the person that you can turn to for positive affirmations and being that person that you can receive a positive message from. And then lastly, creating your own reality. So interpreting the circumstances optimistically. If you miss your first free throw, take that as a sign that your next free throw has to go in. If there's not any questions, I just want to recap really quick what we went over today. Is there any questions? No? Okay, cool. So we defined confidence as believing in yourself and your abilities. You learned some misconceptions about confidence. We made a connection between optimism and confidence. You guys ranked your confidence levels in specific areas of basketball. I introduced positive self-talk, stoppage, and imagery on some basic levels, as well as some other skills that you might want to use in relation to confidence in other areas. We briefly examined some ways that you can create a psychology of excellence. And then lastly, I just want you guys to know that if you want to reach out privately, you can. My email is attached to the handout. And yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.